Here's a dumb question very few smart men ever ask themselves. What if the one thing that makes me good at everything else in my life is sabotaging my interactions with women? If you're an intelligent guy, a lot of your success comes from being smart. It got you the degree, the job, the salary, the respect of coworkers, and in a lot of ways, it's the best tool that you own. And yet, the second a woman is involved, all that cognitive horsepower somehow makes things worse. And no, it's not that women find idiots sexy, nor am I going to sit here and tell you to shut your brain off when it comes to dating. But there are 3 specific mistakes that only smart men seem to make. And the smarter you are, the more you're probably committing all 3 of them. So in today's video, I am going to explain the mistakes and I'm going to tell you exactly how to fix each one. Hey, what's up? I am Rob, and as most of you know, I have been a dating coach for over 12 years, which means that I've worked with thousands of men, everyone from college kids to guys in their 80s. So believe me when I say, smart men are overrepresented in my client pool. Doctors, engineers, lawyers, professors, businessmen. On paper, they should be cleaning up. But in practice, they're losing women to guys who can barely even spell the word attraction. Now, let me say this up front. Intelligence, it's an asset. I'm not here to tell you to dumb yourself down because that's terrible advice. But like any strength, being smart can be a double-edged sword. It can and should be an asset, and it will be once I explain the 3 exact places where your intelligence quietly turns against you. Mistake number 1 is about your memory. Mistake number 2 is about overthinking. And mistake number 3, the one that's ending more smart guys' love lives than the other 2 combined, that's about how intelligence very often leads men to believe that they need to be right. Stick around for that one because odds are you did it the last time you spoke to an attractive woman and you didn't even realize it. So let's get into it. Mistake number 1, good memory, bad vibe. Mistake number 1 is you remember too much. And worse, you let her know about it. Now, smart guys, they're good at retaining information. Smart people in general are good at retaining information. And it's rewarded in most other areas of life, like from getting good grades in school to performing well on Jeopardy. So if you're the type who locks in tiny details, congratulations. That's a respectable and impressive gift. But that same gift can turn into a curse when you don't keep those details to yourself. The second you start reciting the little things that she mentioned 3 dates ago, you don't look thoughtful. You look invested, which she's gonna read as effort. And there's an ugly truth of attraction that no one wants to accept. Whoever puts in the least amount of effort holds more power. It doesn't matter if you have a photographic memory and you literally can't help it. She doesn't care. She just sees the effort and then she's gonna hold it against you. Now, I know this contradicts every romantic comedy ever made, right? You've seen the trope 100 times. The woman offhandedly mentions something like she loves daisies. And 40 minutes later of screen time, the guy shows up with an armful of daisies, the music swells, and we're all supposed to understand that he listened. Therefore, he's different. Hollywood has been selling the he remembered tiny details trope as proof of true love since before any of us were even born. And sure, that may work on screen, but in real life, it makes you look like you've been keeping a file on her like some kind of crazy person. Now, this doesn't mean ignore everything she says, but you shouldn't remember every little detail before the relationship has earned that level of intimacy. It's not charming or endearing. It's actually pretty creepy and weird. How do I know this? Well, because I learned it the hard way. Years ago, back when I lived in New York, I was on a first date with a woman and it was actually going pretty well. And I remember she started telling me this long story about her dad. I genuinely cannot even remember the details of what the story was even about, but the one thing I do remember is that it involved one of her dad's friends, and the guy's name was Steve.
My dad's friend, Steve.
And since one of my best friends at the time, his name was also Steve, that detail, it stuck. Totally trivial, totally harmless, or so I thought. About a month later, we were meeting up, and at this point, we'd already gone on a few dates. She started mentioning about how she had just come from having dinner with her dad. So I playfully asked her, "Oh, nice, was Steve there also?" I thought it was a fun callback to break the ice, and instead what I got back was ice. She looked at me like I had just shouted her social security number to the entire bar. She looked at me the way that Ripley looks at the xenomorph in Alien, and she asked, "How do you know my dad has a friend named Steve?" I tried to explain that she had told me, but that only made it worse. Her exact words were, "Why would you remember that? That's kind of creepy." And here I was thinking that I was pulling the Daisy move out of the romantic comedy, but it went over like a lead balloon. Now, what I should have done is almost the exact opposite of what my instinct had me do in that situation. I know that now because a few years later, I found myself in a similar situation. Back when I had first moved here to Scottsdale, I started seeing this woman who was still on and off with her ex. Very early on, probably on our first date, she told me his name, which I still remember. His name was Alon. It's distinctive enough that I clocked it intuitively, and I still remember it. But the next time that he came up, instead of showing off that I remembered, I deliberately got it wrong. I responded with something like, "Oh, right, you mentioned that guy, right? What's his name? Alonzo, isn't it?" She laughed and she countered, No, his name's Alon." And this actually became a bit. Every time the ex came up, I'd call him something new. Oscar, Leon, Big Al Borland. She would roll her eyes and correct me, and I'd go, "Oh, right, Alvin, like the chipmunk. I should really write this down." Misremembering the guy's name did the exact opposite of remembering Steve's name. It was playful, it was fun, and underneath the joke, there was a message that she felt without me ever having to say it out loud, that this other guy mattered so little to me that I couldn't even be bothered to learn his name. That's not me being forgetful, that's me outmaneuvering this guy without even lifting a finger. Alon, predictably, did not last very long. So, the fix for mistake one isn't remember less. You can't control what you remember. The fix is never let the remembering show. Effort's fine, but visible effort is an attraction killer. That's mistake number one. Mistake number two is the reason a lot of you will never even make it to the first date. Mistake number two, analysis paralysis. Intelligent people abstract meaning out of everything. You take in a clue, you extract the data, you run the scenarios, and in almost every area of your life, that's exactly how you win. In dating, it's exactly why you lose, because analysis almost always comes at the expense of execution. And you probably already know the symptoms. Rewriting one text 19 times before you send it, hesitating before making a move, and then the moment's gone and you missed your opportunity. Seeing a woman across the bar that you would love to talk to, and then right on cue, the voice in your head starts up, "Oh, she probably has a boyfriend." Every guy has made an excuse like this at least once. And smart guys, they make it on a loop. You're taking a genuine superpower, your ability to think analytically, and you're aiming it directly at your own dick. Don't do that, please. Now, the fix is simple. You need to balance analysis with execution. If you overanalyze before you even act, then you never even put that first foot forward. So you're not even in the game. If you overanalyze the execution, you sit there analyzing what just happened, you often end up freezing like a deer in headlights, replaying the moment, second guessing something that you already did, and you can't take back. And here's the thing I've been telling clients for almost 10 years, and will probably still be telling clients 10 years from now. A single mistake almost never kills attraction, but replaying a moment over and over, obsessing over how to correct a mistake that you think you made, that does kill attraction. So let me give you two tricks that I use with clients to break this loop. The first one fixes the freeze before you act, and it's an old school piece of advice called the 3-second rule. The moment that you spot an opening, the moment you spot an opportunity, you give yourself 3 seconds to move. That's it. Any plan that shows up after 3 seconds is probably going to be overbaked and less effective than the one that you already had at second number 2. Like good old General Patton famously said, a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. Now, the next trick is kind of sneaky, and it's something I stumbled on years ago, back when I would take clients out to bars and nightclubs to approach women live. And as you can probably imagine, the hardest part of my job was always getting them to take that first step towards approaching that woman. A guy can know exactly what to say, exactly what to do, but he'll still lock up the instant he sees that beautiful woman across the room. And we all know why, right? We all know it's because he fears rejection. And look, I'm going to be real with you. That fear of rejection, it never really goes away. So I couldn't just tell guys to stop fearing something that we all feel. It would be like telling someone who hasn't eaten in 2 days not to feel hungry. But what I did instead was I turned it into a game. I tell them that there was a new rule. Before the night could officially start, everyone, and I would include myself in that, had to get rejected by at least one attractive woman. Didn't matter what you said, the only goal was to get shot down. And a lot of you can probably already guess what typically happened next. The approaches went incredible. I actually had one student, he met his future wife this way. Because the second the goal is to get rejected, there is nothing left to analyze. There's no perfect line to reverse engineer. It's just pure execution. And often that would lead guys to say things that surprised even them. Because for once, they were in the moment instead of being in their own heads. Look, you don't fix a smart guy by telling him to just stop fearing rejection. You fix it for him by telling him to embrace it, to lean into it. And that brings us to mistake number 3, the deadliest one, and the one your intelligence is going to fight against the most to protect. Mistake number 3, litigating yourself into celibacy. Mistake number 3 is a smart man's need to be right. This is a mistake anyone with a brain makes at some point, and myself is certainly included on that list. And I'll show you the exact moment when you know you're making it. Watch my hands. When a smart guy starts trying to prove he's right, he does this. I tell clients all the time, the second you catch yourself bulleting points on your fingers in front of a woman, you're already cooked. Because you stopped seducing her and you started litigating her. It goes against one of the oldest and truest adages of men's dating advice. Change her mood, not her mind. Attraction is a feeling she has to feel, not a point you need to make. Smart guys have a hard time accepting this. The thinking is, if I just present the evidence, if I just show her the great career I have, or the shared interests that we have, or how much nicer I am than her ex, then surely she will arrive at the logical conclusion that I'm a catch. I've coached high status, high net worth guys who do exactly this, and you know what? None of that matters, because the second you start trying to prove anything to a woman, you lose her. You're no different than the broke nice guy. Whenever you try to tell a woman something rather than show her, you fall into the logic trap. A trap smart men get caught up in all the time. Because whether you're qualifying yourself, or you're arguing a point, or you're debating a fact, or you're just being overly agreeable or nice, it's all a variation of the same mistake, which is a need to be right. Right may mean trying to make a case for why you're different from the other jerks that she's dated so that you tell her how much you care. Or maybe it's just the need to be right in an argument. She said something that you feel the need to correct, so you feel this urge to set the record straight. It's the exact same trap, the trap of trying to prove something to her. But as someone who's been there many times, let me tell you, There's only one question that actually matters in that moment, and one you should get in the habit of asking yourself. Do you want to be right, or do you want to get this girl? Because very often, those two things are mutually exclusive. You might win the argument and lose the girl. Let me demonstrate this with an example. One of the most common ways women test men is with a pressure test. So maybe she says something like, "Why'd you wear that shirt? It makes you look kind of gay." A smart guy would hear that and his brain would start lighting up like a pinball machine, because this is a factual claim and factual claims can be rebutted. So he goes, "No, it doesn't. The shirt's blue. Blue isn't a gay color." And look, he might be 100% correct. Blue may not be a gay color, but he also just failed her test because it was never about the shirt's sexuality. It was about how you handle pressure. You treated something meaningless and emotional like it was a formal deposition, and that's the failure. The fix is to refuse the logic entirely. One way I do that is with a technique called agree and amplify. Oh, this shirt? You got me. Queer as a $2 bill. That's exactly why I wore it, so thank you for noticing. See, with that, she's got nowhere to go because you can't argue with someone who's agreeing with you. All she can do is laugh. You've just shown her that her test affected you so little that you won't even dignify it with a defense. And if that's a little too much for you, you can even just respond with something simple like, "Thanks for the fashion tip." Anyway, does the exact same job. The move is identical every time. Don't get in the weeds with logic trying to prove a point. Instead, change her mood rather than her mind. Attraction does not run on logic. It runs on emotion, on tension, on subtext, on the stuff happening underneath the words. Which brings me to the last thing, and honestly, the biggest blind spot of them all. Smart guys often think that they can think their way out of their problems. They believe that they can figure everything out on their own. Now, if this video helped you, do me a favor and hit the like button so that other guys can find it. Make sure to subscribe if you want more videos like this, and drop a comment telling me which of these you're most guilty of. Be honest, I read every single comment, I try to respond to all of them, and go ahead and make sure to take that quiz at robjudge.net/quiz, because you can't fix what you can't see.